Okay, say hi.
Hello.
Okay. Do you want me to read the first paragraph?
Go for it. Well, there's no paragraphs. How about just lines when you want to stop reading?
Yeah, okay. It was a normal day in Gravity Falls, Oregon. Well, as normal as Gravity Falls gets, anyways. Dipper Pines was reading his book, and Mabel, his twin sister, was wondering what he was doing. Do I have to do a voice when I sing? 'Cause I really don't want to. Okay. Dipper, are you going to keep your nose buried in that strange book of yours all summer? You gotta go out. Have an adventure, Mabel exclaimed. Not now, Dipper said quietly. I'm trying to decode this. He was looking at a cryptogram that said XSLFAQB something. Yeah, a lot of jumbled letters. Dipper was officially stumped. Why would they put that in quotations? Whatever. He could not figure out what it meant, and it seemed very mysterious to him. Grunkle Stan is going to take us to the diner for lunch, Dipper, Mabel exclaims. Dipper, however, was not in the mood for the diner. He was publicly humiliated the last time he went, and he thought they didn't spell thought right. Thought. The food wasn't very good anyway. Mabel, I don't want to go to the diner, Dipper said solemnly. I don't. I want to go somewhere else. But there's really nothing. I can't speak anymore. Go ahead.
But there is really nothing else in this town unless you count the Taco Bell near the forest, Mabel replied. Taco Bell? Dipper's ears perked up. He had never eaten at Taco Bell before, and ever since last week he had a craving for Mexican food for some reason. Why don't we go to Taco Bell today? Dipper asked. Taco Bell, Grunkle Stan questioned. Why do you want to go there? It smells like the bathroom when it gets clogged. I had my heart set on pancakes, Mabel moaned. Listen, you can go to Taco Bell if you want to, but don't come crying to me when you smell like expired onions. Fine, I will, Dipper said harshly and sassily. I added that. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, Grunkle Stan said, but as he was exiting the mystery shack, the door hit him on the way out.
Oh.
Ha 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 ha, said Grunkle Stan. He was laughing.
You can't say a laugh.
So, anyways, Mabel and Grunkle Stan went to the diner, while Dipper tried to find the Taco Bell. He had brought with him his book and a couple bucks. But finding the Taco Bell was harder than he had previously thought. He had been looking around town for what seemed like days. The Mystery book wasn't helping him either, until he saw a flicker of a sign in a forest. He went into the forest. Okay. Why would there be a Taco Bell in the forest, Dipper asked himself.
No.
After hiking for about an hour, Dipper finally got to the Taco Bell. But it didn't look like it was any Taco Bell he'd ever seen.
I just have to say I would not hike for an hour just to find a frickin' Taco Bell.
Right? How'd he see it if it took him an hour?
Exactly.
He must be a really slow walker. Maybe he fell in the ditch.
Top of a mountain. Okay.
Maybe this is all a hallucination. But
I hope so.
me too. It was surrounded by a barrage of giant oak trees in an open field, completely different from the rugged terrain of the Oregon forest, even though it's still the Oregon forest. The open field was covered with at least 3 layers of pine needles, which got the attention of Dipper. He stuck his hand into the pine needles. Ow, Dipper shouted. A pine needle poked him. It hurts.
Then why would you do it?
He's very observant. He's an observant lad.
It hurt.
The restaurant, Taco Bell, looked like a silo. Well, silo. I don't know what a silo is.
It's like a barn
Was
thing.
sort of. But it was cylindrical. The outside had rusty picnic tables, and it looked like no one used them at all. Dipper walked up to the restaurant's door. Should I go in there? Dipper asked himself. I'm starting to have second thoughts. Why is there a small, desolate Taco Bell in this forest, miles away from the nearest road? But I guess it's my only option. Mabel and Grunkle Stan are probably done with lunch right now.
Done with lunch.
Done with lunch. And they were. Mabel wondered why Dipper hadn't come back yet, but Grunkle Stan didn't give any damns. So Dipper entered the restaurant, but he was relieved to see that the interior was normal, except for its high ceiling. Selling. There was also no customers inside, but Dipper thought that was normal, considering how the franchise was so isolated. Do you want to?
Sure. I like this part. He went up to the counter. There was only one cashier working the registers. A very old, slightly deft, bored out of his skull cashier. Dipper decided what he wanted to order, then approached the register. Excuse me, we only got tacos, the cashier interrupted. Okay, I guess I'll have a taco then, Diaper yelled. Not yelled. What did you say? The cashier yelled. I said I want a taco. Dipper yelled back. Okay, then, the cashier said, then went into the back for a few minutes. When he came out, he was carrying Dipper's taco.
That's $1.
That'll $1. I don't know what that means. The cashier said. Dipper gave him the money and went to sit down at the least grimiest table. Okay, I cannot read this part.
He bit into the hot, spicy, juicy taco filled with thick, pure meat, mild and tantalizing black beans, and sour, fluffy sour cream. They're describing a taco. Pansy. He enjoyed the single bite of that perfectly cooked taco, and it tasted in his mouth after he swallowed it. But as he was about to bite into it the second time, he felt a churning movement inside his body, something that he felt often. My mom's in this room. I don't really want to read this. Mom, go somewhere else. Good, don't pay attention.
We're doing a dramatic reading of a really bad fan fiction on the internet.
No matter how gross this gets, I didn't write it.
Shannon didn't write it. We're just telling you now.
I'm sorry if I scar you.
Okay.
Okay, it's going to be gross.
She watched that one movie. What was it called?
Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, it's not going to
Okay.
affect her.
Okay, reading resume, prepare for the worst. For some reason, the bathrooms were hidden. Oh, man, that really went through me, Dipper said to himself. For some reason, the bathrooms were hidden in a corner, far from the counter and far from the table he was sitting at. When he walked in, he found that the bathrooms were surprisingly clean for a fast food restaurant, anyway. And Dipper found this suspicious. All the stalls were full, and no one was using their urinals. Wait, the stalls were full? There's people in there? Even though all this stuff? Okay, I'll continue. But right on cue, someone walked out of one of the stalls. So apparently there's 2 stalls. Dipper didn't pay much attention to who was walking out, but he was wearing all black, and he had a plastic bag with him, and Dipper just had to go. Unfortunately, he didn't make it in time.
You don't want to read this part? No, this part I can read perfectly. It doesn't affect me.
This one, I'm just going to go for my mom.
No, come back, Shannon. If you want us to stop.
It's just weird.
He checked his pants and found the worst of all. Diarrhea, Dipper said. Yeah, I know. There's an H somewhere. Yeeg. I didn't know that was a word. Yeeg. Yeeg. Ugh. Okay. He was about to leave the stall when he noticed a bulge in his pants.
What the fuck?
He noticed a bulge in his pants.
He touched the bulge, and once he touched it, he knew exactly what it was. It was an erection. He found himself completely aroused after touching it and started to do it some more. Eventually, he was ready to hardcore masturbate. He didn't know what he was arousing him, but he knew he was aroused. That was not good grammar.
You want me to read this part? Where were you?
That. Oh god, this is a terrible
He took off his blue shorts. Are you sure you don't want me to stop? Okay. Okay. He took off his blue shorts and his soiled underwear, revealing his medium-sized but not small penis.
As though they had to go and protect the fictional characters aside, okay?
It's not small. It's medium.
Medium-sized.
The tip was bright and red like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
This person obviously knows what penises are.
Dipper started to yank his Johnson. Harder and faster.
The 5-inch. Is 5 inches large?
Ow, my stomach
Is
hurts.
this still recording when you see it?
Yeah, it's still recording. Okay, go back to the fig.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How's it? Oh.
It's still going.
Okay.
Where was it? The 5-incher was...
Ew.
Dipper's soiled hands started to feel bits of free cum on his dread. Shannon, you can finish this. I can't read this that loud.
Eventually, the medium-sized dick, as though you have to keep reminding us the size of it, couldn't take it anymore and burst into an explosion of ew. The ew got all over the walls and toilet, and Dipper felt proud. He had creamed himself for the first time, but he was upset that it wasn't all over when he... What the fuck? No, Dipper thought, all of this is not enough for me. I need to release all of it. With his penis still active, Dipper began yanking it again. And it was gross. And it's really gross. It's really gross.
What do I... Can we just skip all this? Dude, it literally goes on.
No, it's too late now.
Oh no, it gets worse.
Okay,
Trust me, you don't think it can get worse.
Where were we?
You were
Yes.
in a fake
No,
Taco Bell
trust me,
bathroom
it gets
in the
into
middle of
like
a forest.
cannibalism and stuff.
No,
Okay.
Mom.
You know what? Fine. I'm just gonna read this like a woman. Okay. Dipper felt more proud than last time. His heart about to burst from all the droplets of ew falling down from the ceiling. He felt as happy as he felt on the day of the first snowfall of the year. He stuck out his tongue to taste the ew, shiny from the faulty fluorescent lighting in the bathroom. He tasted it and thought it was one of the best tasted things in the world. Better than the largest chocolate bar. Better than the rarest pig, Waddles. And better than the taco he was having
Shannon.
earlier.
How I don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting scared.
No, Shannon. We already invested.
Are we gonna post this on Tumblr?
Yeah.
For Tumblr.
Yeah, it's our Tumblr.
Are you guys?
Okay.
It's flat out gross.
By now, he couldn't stop. He couldn't leave now and miss out on this great masturbation adventure. He wanted to taste the ew. He scraped a handful of it off the stall and put it in his dirty, wet mouth. Even Kenneth whimpered.
I hope all you future Tumblr readers are liking this.
He grabbed another, and another, and another. He was getting more aroused by consuming the ew, and he released another load.
Ew. So that's where it's all coming from, Dipper said to himself. Ew all over his face and teeth. Dipper came up with a solution to get a more hardcore adult ew experience. He was going to put it into action.
Okay, this part makes no sense.
Yeah. He tilted his head down, sat down on the ew-covered ground, grabbed his Hardin Johnson and stuck it in his mouth.
How does he do that?
I bet... Okay, newsflash. Our Chihuahua can do the same thing. Okay, he's very talented. Once it was firmly in, Dipper began to suck on the very hard rod. He did it like a lollipop he got at the country fair a while back. County fair. It tasted a lot like it, too.
I highly doubt that, but continue reading.
Yeah. The legs were so expertly over his shoulder that he could have been a gymnast. The more he sucked on it, the more aroused his legs shook. What?
I didn't know.
Bad grammar. It's not me. It's other people writing it.
Yeah, but you're reading out loud.
Because dramatic readings are kind of funny. Yeah.
Really dramatic about this.
It's not dramatic.
Not yet.
It's more like we're
Eventually, just when he was going to give out, he viewed in his mouth. I don't know. I just skipped it here.
Oh. It was the best thing he ever experienced and kept performing that act on himself.
What's fellatio?
Exactly, fellatio. It's exactly what he's doing. As he was stimulating himself orally, he accidentally fell over to his side. He broke from his penis and ewed all over the floor. The floor was covered in so much of ew that he started to make a snow angel in it. Or an ew angel. He was eating some in the process. But then he looked to his side and immediately became so hard that the red tip was touching his short pubic hair. Ew. He saw what was causing it. He saw his feces. He held it up and marveled at its erotic beauty. They were so beautiful, so smooth in its brownness.
Sticky brownness.
Ew. He wanted his shit. He held his underwear like a fish on the lure and put his lips to it. He's now eating crap.
You're censoring so much of it, Shannon. It's
I
kinda
am.
funny.
I just kind of want to get through this. Let's just say he started eating it at the same time with his penis. What's a good part to skip over this? Because it's pretty much, it's repetitive. It just keeps saying how he's doing
It's
this.
just like, this is the best day in the world, and blah,
We're-
blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Okay,
He-
now okay. Dipper took a scoopful. Start there.
He took a scoopful of shit and ew and put it in the toilet. He flushed it, but before it went down, he grabbed all of it and put it in his mouth. Dipper was consuming all of it, and he said it tasted great. He kept on doing it for God knows how long, and one of the times he hit his head against the toilet rim. Dipper's brain must have been knocked out of place at the time, because this time, instead of putting the ew in his food hole, he started to lather it on his penis. Okay. As he was sucking and ewing, he accidentally bit his dick. Like my dog does. Like my dog does. As soon as he tasted the blood, he broke out of coitus, and he saw his lacerated penis. He saw a mix of blood and ew running from it, like lava and his erectile muscle pointing out. Oh, they used a different word for it now. Dipper grabbed it and grimaced in pain. He winced at it and looked horrified. He snapped out all of it and tried to figure out a solution to the castration.
No.
Apparently he bit his dick off. Guinness doesn't do that.
Yeah,
Ew.
They really suck at description in this thing.
Ew.
I don't know what penises look like. I don't know if they're being correct or
You're
not.
skipping so much.
I know. He put some more of ew in it, but it didn't stop the bleeding. He's trying to seal
Dipper
his
spit
penis
out the
off.
piece of dick that he bit off and then tried to reapply it, but it didn't work.
No. No matter how many times he tried to reattach it, they all failed. He put more of his reproductive fluids on the castration. They didn't spell it right. But they only made the penis swell up, like the Goodyear blimp.
What?
Dipper was looking at all of it off. He was now in ultimate pain and felt nothing like this. He screamed as loud as he could, and he felt like no one could hear him. He was screaming louder and louder, saying, "Help! I bit my dick off!" Oh, sorry, neighbors. He was going insane. He started to bang the wall, screaming help as loud as he could yell. After a full 5 minutes with large mix of ew everywhere, he was banging his head on the stall. The banging was louder than the loudest thunderstorm, and yet no one came for help. Dipper was alone in the bathroom, alone in the stall, alone with his beloved dick, now to near death, and unfortunately he was near death.
They just said that twice. Repetitive.
Did the best writing in the world. After one final blow to the head, the now screaming Dipper was now as silent as Christmas Eve. He fell to the floor. Eyes turned skyward and fell in a mix of his own ew. At the Mystery Shack...
You want me to read now?
Okay. Sorry,
It's
Mom.
that gross now.
There's bad
No.
people in this world. I want you to know that there's bad people in this world.
At the Mystery Shack.
No, you're not their leader. Please don't say that, Mom. Please don't say that.
At the Mystery Shack, Mabel was feeling very worried about Dipper, so she went off and tried to find him. She went off into the forest first, she knew where it was, and surprisingly got there in less time than Dipper. As she entered the newly cleaned doors, she immediately noticed the once bitten taco on one of the tables and immediately knew it was Dipper's. Mabel rushed into the men's bathroom, like she liked to use the urinals, and rushed into a random stalls. It was her brother's. Mabel looked at how messy the stall was and how it was used to do the deed. Her pink sneakers were sticky from... I'm sorry, it's all mashed together. Were sticky from stepping in the reddish-brown mess of fluids. She walked around the messy stall for a bit, but then saw the most horrid sight she could imagine. Dipper's corpse. This is where it starts getting incesty.
It's gross. This person, it's a shock fix. Someone did this to make everyone squeamish.
Mabel was welled up in tears at the sight of it and began to cry. As she was crying, she sat down in a pile of the blood, feces, and ew and looked at Dipper's lifeless face. It was beautiful, as his smooth facial features complemented his circle of ew around his lick. "Oh, Dipper," Mabel said through her tears, "let me clean the white stuff off your lips."
Mom, you're allowed to walk out right now.
Mabel brought Dipper's head up to hers and...
You
you are the honey badger.
I already know that.
And-
You have to suffer.
And she kissed him. This is his twin sister, Shannon. After pulling out of the kiss, Mabel enjoyed it, and so she kissed him again. She didn't...
13.
She 12 and a half. She didn't want to let go of Dipper, not now, not when he had just died. He was her brother after all. She'd held Dipper's naked corpse oh yeah, he was naked, never mind. He never took off his shirt. Anyways.
Did he have his shoes? Is he still wearing socks and stuff? That's so awesome.
She held Dipper. Dickers. She held Dipper's naked corpse in her arms, and she felt a tingling feeling inside of herself at its secret dirty side. No one would care if we just did it right. He is dead, and I would know in this restroom stall, Mabel thought. She immediately came up with an answer. She pulled Dipper's head up to her head and kissed him again, only it was a French kiss.
Once Mabel was done, she put the body on the floor. Then Mabel got down on the fluid cover floor too. Mabel started to go on a kiss. They spelled crazy with a K. That's so lame. Frenzy with Dipper. No offense, narrator. If you happen to watch this or whatever,
Cray.
listen to it. It's so cray. Okay, with Dipper, and that made it look like Dipper was alive. Tongue went into Dipper's deceased mouth, because his mouth is dead along with him, scraping the ew and the ew off the roof of Dipper's mouth. Mabel was shaking even more now that her tongue was touching Dipper's. She unzipped her jeans, slid them off, and threw them at a wall. With anger. No, they stuck there from all the ew. That was random. Mabel showed her coocher. I changed words around. It's a long sentence. She took Dipper's corpse, not noticing the eternally bleeding penis, and brought it closer to the cervix. I don't know what that is. She rubbed her vagina part for arousal purposes before she stuck it in, and then it was gross. And I'm skipping some of this because it's just really gross. And all of the sex stuff is happening, and it's gross. And let's just say she likes it.
Hey, like the old saying, King says it best.
Gross.
Oh, yeah, you are from Alabama.
Oh, Lord. If only Dipper could kiss her back. After what seemed like hours, it wouldn't fit in. Mabel finally looked down at the now pretty messed up penis. Mabel couldn't look away at it. It was now swollen to the size of her head. What the fuck? A whole mix of rainbow colors and still spewing lifeless ew. Mabel vomited on it, which only made it worse. It grew bigger and bigger. Oh, Dipper, she said softly. Then Mabel started to scream. She was horrified at the sight of it and started to barf again. She tried to put a giant mix of blood, ew, and vomit and ew on the dick, but it didn't work. She tried to suck it off, but she found herself enjoying it. She kept doing that, tasting the blood and funneling it. She was ecstatic. She was more happy now than she'd ever been, more happy than she was before. As she was squealing with delight, the stall doors opened to a crack. Mabel took notice of this. Huh, she asked. The door started to open more. It wasn't locked. Mabel started to get nervous. She didn't want to go to jail for necrophilia. She was only a child who bit off more than she could chew. Don't use that expression. Oh, Lord. She got too ahead of herself after lusting after her brother for so long. If it was the police, she had no hope. She just hoped it was another Taco Bell employee who would listen to her and help her out. The stall doors finally burst open. Standing in front of it was a man dressed in black. He had a Taco Bell logo sewn to the left of his fleece jacket. He was wearing squeaky shoes that squeaked across the bathroom floor, and he was wearing dark sunglasses. The mysterious man walked up to the two of them slowly. Mabel stood up on her feet, fear and blood on her face. The man stared at Mabel for a long time until he finally said, "Are you supposed to be in this bathroom, young lady?" Mabel was shaking in horror now. She turned to face Dipper's naked, violated dead body and turned to face the man again. "Mister, I didn't intend to do this to my brother," Mabel said, shaking with tears in her eyes. The man brought himself closer to Mabel's face. "Sir, you are in my personal space," Mabel tried to manage. The man was inspecting a red spot on Mabel's cheek. After several seconds, the man touched the spot, finger trailed in it, and ew, he ate her blood. "Blood," the man whispered to himself. "What did you say?" Mabel asked him, not understanding what he was saying. Well, that was obvious from her dialogue. "Little girl, do you know what that was on your cheek?" Mabel repeated what the man said about it, and she said, "It's blood." "And the blood being on your cheek, have you developed, say, a desired taste for it?" the man asked back. Mabel did not notice the retractable chisel in front of his right hand. Oh, yeah, there's also gore in this, Mom.
Really?
There's... No, Mom, you don't like gore. At least they're not cockroaches. Have you desired a taste for blood? Yes, I didn't mean to. I just... Shh, the man quieted her. If you like the addicting taste of it, why didn't you say so? And without warning, the man cut her across the chest with a chisel. She screamed at the pain of it. Blood started to pour out of the diagonal cut fast, almost covering her stomach. "You can look that up. Your blood probably tastes better than his," the guy said, pointing to Dipper. Then the man gave another cut across her face. She screamed again, louder this time. "Now you can get the blood close to your face and make sure you're silent," the man said, and slit her across the neck. She couldn't scream this time. The man went into her neck and pulled out 3 vocal cords. The man stretched the cords out. How are you going ew now? I'm sorry, but the other stuff was grosser, at least. Okay.
Kill Mabel.
The man stretched her vocal cords out, and he jumped rope with them while slashing Mabel across the face several times. How can you do that?
I'm done.
I win the contest! Woo! When her face was cut so many times that her nose fell off, the man decided it was time for the scalping. He took out a bigger knife and slammed it right above Mabel's eyebrows. The man gripped the knife's handle, still in her face, and began to make a deep cut. The man put all of his strength into it because he decided to make the hardest part first. He tried to do it right on the skin, but sadly did not do the job he liked. Mabel's head was now topless, the top of her skull exposed and violently cut, so now you could see the brain inside the skull. 2 pieces of muscle and flesh were still attached to Mabel's hairy scalp, so the man cut them off. The scalp was now thin as skin, still full of Mabel's hair. He hung the scalp up on the floor, on the hook on the door. It would be his prize, something he kept for himself. Now the man prepared the rest of the body. Let's just say he just began cutting her up, and lots of blood spilled. And then he started, let's just say he started violating her with a knife.
Wait, what?
He's just like cutting all these different parts of her, and I bet he's having fun, that sick bastard. Once most of the blood was done spewing, the man got down near Mabel's bloody vag. He very carefully took his knife, got near the cervix, and stuck the knife's blade up her vag. While in Mabel's cock cave, that's creative right there, that nickname, the man was rotating the knife, cutting up the walls of ew. He accidentally slit some of the sides of Mabel's cutting into the muscle surrounding it. The man was very embarrassed because people were going to judge him for this, guys. It's a show. Where was I? Once the man saw the job he did, he threw the arm into the trash bag. I skipped a part. Okay, oh yeah, hopefully no one will notice that, he said to himself. He took the knife out of Mabel's hole with her organs on the blade. The man got out the big plastic trash bag, scraped the knife into it, making the contents go in the bag. But since the knife's handle was covered in more blood than it usually was, he accidentally let it slip and dug into Mabel's right shoulder. Perfect, the man said ominously. The man got out a pair of vinyl gloves and put them in his hands. He gripped the knife tightly, wanting a deeper cut than he had before. After a while, after digging and digging and digging, the man's knife got through the other side. Once the man saw the job he did, he threw the arm in the trash bag. He felt great pride and felt that he could easily achieve his goal now. So he went to the other side of Mabel's nearly skinned body and began to cut that arm off. It was easier to do than the other one, surprisingly, and once he was done with that, he threw that arm into the garbage bag. Mabel's body was now almost flat due to the loss of blood. No, she still has bones. The man tasted some of it, and he thought that he should get a jar for later. Now for the legs. The man did the same with her legs, and it was easier to cut them off each time. The legs were off, and the man threw it in the bag. Mabel's body was flat now. Almost all the blood from her body was gone. You just said that. Embracing Mabel's dismembered body, he hugged it, licked the remaining blood off, and put the body in a bag. The man, now he had just noticed Dipper on the floor and figured he must have caused this on the walls. Another one couldn't hurt, the man said to himself, and he started cutting off Dipper's appendages. He did it like Mabel's. It was done quickly. It was put in the bag, blah, blah, blah. Now it was time to clean up. The bathroom was a mess of fluids. The man got out a chisel, and he had to chisel all of the grossness off the walls into a bag. It took a long while, about 2 or 3 hours. Is this still recording? It's still recording, okay. Once it was done, he needed to clean the floor, so he did that. Okay, this guy is apparently a maid as well as a serial killer, going through. The man left the bathroom, and the stall waited, ready for its next victim. The man got out of the bathroom and went to the kitchen of Taco Bell. He got near a machine. It was an odd-looking machine. It had a crank on the side, a funnel on the top, and something shaped like a taco on the side near the conveyor belt. Why do I have to do everything myself, the man questioned. He hung up his blood-stained jacket and sunglasses, revealing his Taco Bell employee uniform. It was spotless. The man took the bag and, one by one, started putting body parts into the funnel. Once the bag was half empty, he kept on putting more parts in, only this time he turned up the crank. Once the bag was empty, out popped 2 tacos. They weren't really tacos, really. They were just human body parts in the shape of tacos. They went to the conveyor belt, and the employee, using spray cans, began to spray paint on the body parts. Once they got to the Taco Bell tissue paper at the end of the conveyor belt, they looked like genuine tacos. The man grabbed one of the tacos, wrapped in tissue paper, and went to the front of the counter. He handed it to the old man cashier, then went to the depths of the kitchen. "Here's your taco, sir," the cashier said to the fat customer. "You're welcome," Sue said, handing the cashier the money. Sorry, that took a long time. No. It's done, thankfully. This is what the internet does sometimes. So, Madeline, do you have any last comments for the people who are listening?
Eat the taco.
Do you want to go to Taco Bell?
No! Taco Bell can turn to hell and stuff.
Thank you for listening. Crying now. Bye.
I like Pizza Hut better.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Tacos at Pizza Hut.
Just